Hey, it's Ethan from Broz. This is our first ever podcast. I'm joined with co-host Jude, Blaser. We're gonna get into all the trending topics of the week, and it should be exciting. We got some hot takes, and we're ready to get going.
For our first question, we're discussing Derek Carr's first win. Obviously, you've noticed that the Chiefs were upset by the Raiders, and Derek Carr won his first game ever against the Chiefs. So, what does this mean for Las Vegas heading into their bye week?
It means they got some studs on their team. I mean, you saw that long touchdown by Henry Ruggs, that deep threat rookie. He's a phenomenal player. You got a Darren Waller tight end who can do basically anything you ask him to do. He's a huge guy who can also catch the football. You got Jason Witten, a veteran. You got a great running back in Josh Jacobs who gets a lot of touches. And you got Derek Carr, who's, in my opinion, a very underrated quarterback. So it just shows their high offensive power. I mean, the Chiefs scored on their first 3 drives, and the fact that Las Vegas was able to keep up with this in incredible fashion and drop 40 on a relatively good Chiefs defense. And you saw Tyrann Mathieu went crazy against the Patriots the other day, and he got a bunch of interceptions. Even some were overturned. It was a crazy game. So yeah.
Do you think their momentum is going to keep going into their bye? Because beating the Chiefs is like their AFC West rival, so this could mean that their momentum will be heavily towards the outside.
I don't think it's just going to be a momentum as much as it's going to help them. The thing that's going to help them the most is it's going to be rest for their players. I mean, Darren Waller and Josh Jacobs were both questionable the other week. They're clearly a beat-up team. I mean, when you have a running back who got 30 touches in week 2, you're definitely going to be beat up. So this is going to help Josh Jacobs. This is going to help the defensive line. The bye is not going to give them momentum as much as it's going to give their players a rest for playing a very hard schedule.
Yeah, and Mahomes needs the rest. As you saw in the game, he was constantly trying to get out of the pocket. And I'm starting to think that the offensive line doesn't exactly mesh with his style.
I think it's more the great performance of the Raiders defense than it is their offensive line. Because you saw against the Saints, the Raiders were able to put on an incredible amount of pressure as well. I think they're a very underestimated team, and their record does not give them justice.
But the difference is, the offensive line of the Chiefs is obviously good, but Mahomes, he likes to drift out into the pocket, and the offensive line and him, I feel like they don't mesh as well as they could.
I think that's wrong. I think Josh Gruden came out with a very good defensive game plan, and I think that, they scored 32 points. The only really bad offensive play was when the Raiders had that huge pick at the end of the game. I mean, they didn't do terrible. The defense of the Chiefs has just got to step up, and they looked lackadaisical on it. They went deep on them, and I think the Chiefs underestimated that. And I think this was totally a defensive loss for the Chiefs. Obviously, with Patrick Mahomes, you pretty much know what's going to happen on the offensive end. Yeah, they might have not been as gelled with this week, but the Raiders are good with giving pressure. I think this is a defensive loss for the Chiefs, and they need to do better if they want to win a championship this year.
Do you think this loss rattles the Chiefs, as they haven't lost since last November?
No, I think they need this at Broz City because, they played great football in the first half. But, the mistakes showed in the second half of the game, and I think that's going to help them. This is their first adversity of the season, so it's going to help them, it's going to make them grow, and I think they're going to be able to perform a lot better in the postseason.
Yeah, I think this loss was necessary for the Chiefs because now they know what to work on, and they're not expecting to walk all over every team.
Yeah. All right, now let's talk about the bad team. And when I say bad, I mean bad. The New York Jets. Jude, they are hideous.
Oh my God.
All right.
As a Giants fan, I can call them bad.
So there's this new quarterback out of Clemson. He's around 6'6", 200 pounds, total stud. He's been ranked number 1 for forever. Should the Jets really take this guy in the draft? They got a stud out of Darnold. I don't even know this is I don't think this is a debate. How about you?
I do not think the Jets should draft Trevor Lawrence. even with the first pick, Trevor Lawrence is obviously a generational talent. As long as he doesn't get injured, he's a great player. But it's not what the Jets need right now. They don't need another quarterback and trade away Darnold. They need to build around Darnold and obviously fire Adam Gase. He was no help for Darnold.
And you look on Instagram, and every single Jets fan under their post is saying, "Fire Adam Gase, fire Adam Gase." I mean, it's crazy what this community has done. And they're 26th in offensive line ranks. And as you mentioned, like, the offensive line is so important. The Colts have a great one. They're obviously doing great this year. So, do you think they should draft catering towards an offensive line in this draft?
Yeah, they should definitely try to get an offensive line for Darnold. Most quarterbacks give them like a great offensive line, like the Colts, and they'll succeed. But you can't expect Trevor Lawrence on the Jets just to play hero ball and take it all to himself. That's not going to work. Take Darnold, give him a good receiver, let them kind of build around Darnold, and fire Adam Gase, obviously. I think we'll start seeing some different numbers for the Jets.
Yeah, different numbers it is, but I think, Jude, you're underestimating the power of a front office. And obviously it's easy for us to say, but is this front office really going to get it together, draft good prospects, like develop them? Like, is that feasible? Or is it going to take like a revamped front office, a new coach? It's going to take a lot of work for the Jets. I don't think it's as simple as draft an offensive line this year. I mean, yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that's going to help, but development is a big part of the game. I mean, you talk about, I know it's cross sports, but the Tampa Bay Rays, they have almost no money, but they're able to develop great players. I mean, the front office matters a lot.
Yeah, that is true, but I still think that drafting Lawrence isn't going to fix the Jets' problem. You're right, they need to do that, but that's a lot of steps that I don't know if they can plan it perfectly, where they get the perfect line, great receivers, a new front office that'll really help them. There's definitely a lot of work, and it's going to be difficult for them.
I agree.
We've all seen it. We've all heard it. Tom Brady, thinking he was third down. What do you think?
I'm confused, to say the least. I mean, you have their coach, Bruce Arians, coming out and saying that, no, Brady knew what down was. Now, why on the field, Bruce? Now, why on the field was he so confused? If he knew what down it was, or is he just trying to play off how he miserably failed and had an un-Brady-like 1:17 left, which frankly, I've been watching Brady for ages. That's his time where he loves to shine, that minute 20, minute 45, 2 minutes, a minute range, where he can come out and make a score. And I think, frankly, he was embarrassed. I mean, Magic Johnson tweeted, "I can't believe 6-time Super Bowl champion Tom Brady lost track of downs in the 2019 loss to the Bears," with the sad emoji. I mean, that's pathetic.
And the thing about Tom Brady is that, without Bill Belichick, do you really think that this would have happened? That's what people are saying. They're like, the whole system Tom Brady quarterback issue. They're like, with Belichick, he would have known the downs. Do you think that's the case?
I mean, as this season evolves, I think we can tell what the culture in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers locker room is really like. I know for a fact in New England, it was a very disciplined, wanting to win, culture around there. So with that whole culture and stigma that Bill Belichick and Tom Brady did help produce, that this wouldn't have happened. I mean, they would have been so dialed in and locked in. There's no doubt in my mind. It might be a little bit lackadaisical, a less of a culture in Tampa Bay. It all depends. Frankly, we've only seen 5 games out of the Bucs with no preseason. Without that preseason, I mean, we can't really tell. There's so many new pieces. So, it's a lot of question marks in this case.
Yeah. And what I really didn't like about the end of the game, I like Brady. I love him as a player and a person, but not respecting Foles and handshaking him after the game, going straight to the locker room, I did not like that at all.
Tom Brady did not want to handshake his daddy. I mean, Nick Foles. The 2-0 against Brady. I mean, Nick Foles did make some phenomenal plays. He was able to hit David Montgomery out of the backfield on a high-pressured play. Not many quarterbacks can do that. And it's not everyone's highlighting, Brady failed. I mean, Nick Foles did great too.
The Buccaneers didn't just lose; the Bears did win.
Yeah, the Bears did win. They had a great secondary. smothered the Bucs receivers. It was good.
And people are saying they're like, it's okay. It wasn't like an AFC championship, or it wasn't like the Super Bowl. Do you think it's still an excusable mistake for a starting quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, when you have a quarterback who has 6 titles and 6 rings, it's so much experience. But you do remember last year, I mean, on the last week of the season, the Dolphins like stamped down the field and beat the Patriots at home. I mean, and then all the fans were saying, even I said, it's just the regular season. The Patriots come out in the postseason. And then you go to the postseason and the Titans run all over you. And then you throw a pick 6 to lose the game. But, so yeah. I'm trusting Brady, and I hope it's not the same as last year. But maybe it is, and maybe he's shot, and maybe it was time to retire. That one season, he already got that ring.
But I agree with what you're saying. He's had like his gaffes, but he still, like last week, he still had 5 touchdowns. Brady is still an all-star, like a Pro Bowl quarterback.
Oh yeah, he's performing great, but the quarterback position isn't always about performing, because he's getting the ball off quick, he's getting it to the receivers, he has a beautiful amount of like weapons on their team. You got Leonard Fournette, who's doing a great job receiving the ball out of the backfield. I mean, their team is dangerously good, but the fact is, in the playoffs, you need to be able to score in that minute and 17 off a good defense. And that was their time to shine last game, and they did not convert. And for me, that is scary, because Brady is so good at that.
But the thing is, when Chris Godwin is back, and like Fournette, and his whole team's healthy, and by the way, like when his full team's healthy, I think that he'll be a much different player.
I tend to disagree. I mean, obviously, and I think a big loss for them actually was their offensive line. Their center got hurt last game, and that he was doing a phenomenal job that year. I mean, he carried the offensive line. And I can't say for sure like what is that problem in the loss yesterday. Obviously, they moved to 3-2, which isn't bad. I mean, it's the same record as the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, it's not bad. I think Twitter is just raising a fuss about this. Obviously, I think the main takeaway from this game is a minute 17 left. You gotta convert Brady if you want to win that title this year. Yeah.
And social media, they do everything. You saw in week 1, Tom Brady had a bad week 1, and they're like, system quarterback, even though he was playing the New Orleans Saints.
It wasn't as much the Saints as it was no preseason. I mean, 4 weeks of live football would have dramatically helped the Buccaneers. You got a new team, you got a baby team. And that's why I think this year they will perform better in the postseason. Because even though the injuries, even though they keep getting hurt, and the center of the Buccaneers got hurt, Chris Godwin's been battling injuries all year, you know, I still think this is a team that's going to get better as the season develops. MLB 2020 postseason. Things changed in the bracket, obviously. Jude, who do you have, bro?
Atlanta Braves. In this postseason so far, in their 49 innings pitched, .92 ERA. Pitching in these series are so crucial to winning games. And having a .92 ERA, that for a team ERA nonetheless, that's unheard of for even just one pitcher. But a team ERA, that's just ridiculous. And I think that it'll beat them through the series.
I'm gonna have to go with the Astros.
The Astros.
The Houston Astros. I mean, listen, they are on fire. I mean, Carlos Correa, he's batting 520 at-bats. Let me repeat that. He's batting 520 at-bats. And that's crazy. I mean, he's on fire. He's obviously playing with a chip on his shoulder. He's pissed off that everyone's calling him a cheater. I mean, he's 12 RBIs.
Because he is a cheater.
Oh, please. This year, 500 average in the postseason. Altuve, I'm pissed off at that dude. He knew that slider against Chapman was coming. But you gotta give Correa credit.
Okay, fine. I give him credit for this year. But they're still not beating Atlanta. The World Series is coming out of the National League this year, and you know it too. It's either the Dodgers or Atlanta, but it's gonna be Atlanta.
I think all 4 teams can put up a fight. The Tampa Bay Rays, they don't show it on their stats, but they got some studs. I mean, that guy, I think it was a 15-pitch at-bat on the homer on Aroldis Chapman. I mean, that was a phenomenal at-bat. He battled some good pitches and was able to take a fastball low and inside the yard. I mean, that was roped. And yeah, I mean, I think all 4 teams can win it this year. You got some hot guys on every single team, but you got some studs on the Dodgers, some big names, and you also got the phenomenal lights-out pitching.
I do see where you're coming from with the Astros team 281, highest in the postseason, and 13 home runs, which is pretty ridiculous. But I don't think that they can do it with 3.83 team ERA.
I mean, read out to the people. Read out the Dodgers home runs compared to the Astros home runs. I know you picked the Braves. I just want to show them this.
2 to 13.
So let me get this straight. Dodgers fans think they're gonna win the World Series when they have 2 home runs, and the Astros have 13.
Get this: 30 home runs in 5 games. When the Astros have 30 runs in 5 games. When the Astros have only 40 in 6, which isn't an absolutely crucial difference.
I know, but listen. In the World Series, home runs matter so much. They just grab so much momentum to a team. They're a constant kickstart. I mean, it's a home run game now. Just how basketball's turning into a 3-point game, baseball's turning into a home run game. And the Dodgers don't have that. They get base hits, they get RBIs, they're a fundamental team. But in a Game 7 in a World Series, like, when you need that 2-run home run, you need that 2-run blast to get your team back in it. You can't get that out of the Dodgers, and that's a problem. That's a real bad problem.
But from the looks of it, I don't even think they're going to get any home runs on this Braves pitching staff. They're fully healthy. They're in it. They have also, nonetheless, they're batting. Their stats won't show it, but Ozzie Albies, Ronald Acuna Jr., Freddie Freeman, one of the best hitters in the National League. They're just an unstoppable force.
Yeah, and I think both me and you agree that the Dodgers, quite frankly, aren't the front runner. Besides, which is a kind of an unpopular belief. I mean, the MLB had them ranked first in the power rankings for practically
They lived in the first of the power rankings.
They did live first in the power rankings.
But yeah, I don't see them winning this thing. But if they make it to the World Series, I have them winning though. I'm gonna be honest. Like I said earlier, the World Series is coming out of the National League. I know you don't agree with me. You're with the Astros or the Trashers, but it's coming out of the National League.
No, it's not. The Houston Astros, in 210 at-bats, have a 281 average with 13 home runs. And let me get this straight. The Atlanta Braves, who are batting not that well, 230 with 7 home runs, Jude. No, it's not happening. I get it, the pitching's great. But who have they played in the MLB postseason?
The team average is what you're looking at. But if you look at their core, Albies, Acuna, Freeman, they can put up runs super easily. All it takes is 1 home run from one of them, and that's a whole run to the game. You're just looking at the full team, and if the whole team doesn't show up, but you still have those key players putting up the runs when they're up, that'll win them the ballgame.
I don't know. Let's make a bet.
Fine.
Alright. If the Astros win the postseason, that week of the talk show, you need to wear a dress in it. But if the Braves win, I need to wear a dress in it. And we'll inform our viewers when the time comes. Alright. Do you want to shake on camera?
I mean, it's an easy bet on camera.
I bet.
You know what's next. The Garage Bros signature, 5 minutes of fantasy. What do you got for us, Ethan?
I got Josh Jacobs.
Why would you get him now?
you shouldn't have got him now. You should have got him week 4 when he had 10.3 points, because you should have looked at the defense, the opponent's defense, and you should have said Buffalo, and you should have expected a bad game. And you should have bought him low. And the week before, he versus the New England Patriots only put up 9.3 points in a PPR league. And obviously, I mean, they're good defenses. In New Orleans, 13.5. And then he versus Kansas City, which is the 15th ranked run defense. And he puts up 23 attempts, 77 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Get him this bye week. Or get him off that Tampa Bay game. Because I don't think he's going to have a huge game during that Tampa Bay game. Buy him low, because after that Tampa Bay game, you got Cleveland, you got the Chargers, you got Denver, you got the New York Jets, you got Kansas City again, you got Miami. I mean, you got horrendous defenses. The only elite defense you verse is the Colts in so many weeks of football. I mean, you're going to get mass production out of him in the second part of the season. And I think he's going to be a phenomenal player. How about you, Jude?
I think that right now, owners of Deshaun Watson should get rid of him. He has not been performing well. He's a great quarterback, but his team and him, they do not mesh well, and he hasn't been performing well. But this week, he scored 25 points. So I think that a lot of people are going to be like, oh, he scored 25, so people will buy him high. So I would get rid of him, pick up maybe a Gardner Minshew, trade for maybe some good bench players, maybe like a flex. And I think that it would be beneficial for your team to get rid of him as fast as you can. I don't think he's going to be doing much better.
And this is a hot take, but do not get Kareem Hunt right now. Do not. Because Kareem Hunt, this scares me too. I know he's had such a consistent season, but people, listen, because I'm not saying he's bad. He's a phenomenal running back. But people are treating him like the best thing since sliced bread right now. Because they're like, oh, Nick Chubb's hurt. He's going to be a 30-point per game running back. No, he's not. Because you know why? He's still sharing the backfield. And he's still getting the same points. As you see today, he got 18.3 points. He did a great job. He's a great running back. He got 72 yards and a receiving touchdown. But he's not going to be that Christian McCaffrey or Alvin Kamara. You know, he's just not going to be that right now. Because he's still sharing the backfield. And that's fine. He's a great RB1. Just stop treating him like the next Saquon Barkley, everyone. And he's such a buy high right now that the owner should just try to sell him to somebody. Because someone is going to pay a ridiculous amount of players because they think Kareem Hunt's going to be phenomenal.
I 100% agree with you with that. And another player that I think that you should get right now is Devontae Freeman. In the Giants versus Cowboys, really annoying, awful game that I wish I hadn't saw. You saw that Daniel Jones, every time in the red zone, would try to run the ball for the touchdown. He is Daniel Jones' go-to option for his touchdown. And if he's just going to keep scoring them. So I'd say pick him up now if he's not already picked up in the league.
Yeah, and I agree because, you know, that offensive line of the Giants is so horrendous, you know. Sometimes Daniel Jones does need to chuck it down to his running back, especially in the red zone when there most likely will be a blitz coming and they opt to pass the ball. So, you know, Devontae Freeman's going to be a great pickup. I like what I saw. You're right. He had a lot of action in the red zone this week, which I think is wrong. I mean, when you have a secondary as bad as the Dallas Cowboys, you as the coach got to be thinking, let's try to air it out for someone in this red zone. They ran it. I guess it worked. I mean, they had a good production out of their offense. Daniel Jones didn't have one passing touchdown, which surprised me. I feel like they should use the air in that game. But Devontae Freeman, he's going to be phenomenal. I agree with you. People are underestimating him.
Yeah, and there's always that case of the backup running back that always shoots, you know, Eckler, James Conner. It happens with all the running backs that shoot up in fantasy because people aren't really used to facing them. If they mesh with the system, then they're going to get you some points.
Well, yeah, and it doesn't take much meshing. I mean, that's why, you know, people know that because Clyde Edwards-Helaire was like the 8th ranked running back without even playing an NFL game. Like, people know that it doesn't take much mesh as a running back. You just gotta hit the hole hard. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's it. You better listen to our stuff, boys.
Remember, we'll be doing these podcasts weekly. Be sure to check it out on YouTube. Probably posting to Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
Closing remarks?
You know, this is our first ever podcast. Don't flame us. You know, we obviously have a lot to work on, but, you know, obviously our goal is to just get the best content out for our viewers so they get into sports, you know, no fantasy football, and are able to make educated predictions with their loved ones and stuff like that.
If you have any questions for another topic, you can comment in it. If you want to subscribe and like, you can. Not forcing you. But anything you want us to cover, ask about, just you can DM us on @garage_BROZ on Instagram.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
Sounds good. See you next week.